When Mayor Wilson Fisk's age-old vendetta against Daredevil ends up boiling over to the rest of New York City and the superhero community, will anyone be safe? Well, let's hop into the pages of Devil's Reign issue number 1. The big kickoff to Chip Zdarsky's new Marvel event. So then, as the book opens up, we check back on in with the Stromwind twins. These evil one-percenters had attempted to take over Hell's Kitchen a couple arcs back, only to be defeated by Daredevil and Kingpin. Honestly, they're taking their loss in stride, and why shouldn't they? They're still rich and untouchable, and getting to mess around with Daredevil and Kingpin proved to be a lot of fun for them, so much so they've decided they're going to keep on doing it, but more on that in a minute. Now back in Hell's Kitchen, Matt Murdock is out of prison and back on the streets as Daredevil fighting crime. Wilson Fisk, the mayor, had gotten married, but the honeymoon has been called off early so the two can have a little meeting. You see, the Kingpin was getting a little nostalgic and going through a bunch of his most sensitive files when he came to the Murdoch papers, only to realize there was nothing in the file but a bunch of blank pictures. That would of course be because Matt Murdock was able to use the power of the Purple Children to make the entire world, including Wilson, forget his secret identity was ever leaked in the first place. Fisk takes this as a very deep personal slight against him. He doesn't like being made to look like a fool, and this pretty much ends up reigniting their rivalry that had seemingly cooled with Fisk marrying Typhoid Mary. Here's the thing though, Wilson refuses to just have this fight between him and Daredevil anymore. Instead, he wants to extend it to the entirety of the superhero community in New York. It's because of that, as mayor, he ends up passing the brand new Powers Act, essentially outlawing all superhero behavior within the borders of New York. In fact, in a nice bit of continuity, Mayor Fisk mentions over in the Champions book the federal government had succeeded in outlawing any superhero under the age of 21. Beyond that, it's your regular political shell game of scapegoating the superhero community for everything bad that's ever happened in New York. Hey, those symbiotes, that's actually Spider-Man's fault. He brought them to Earth. Those frost trolls, well, that's just Thor's fault. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, wait, isn't this just the plot of Civil War, but on a much smaller scale? Well, don't worry, Tony Stark Iron Man is there to do a bunch of similar lampshade hanging, while also reminding anyone in the media that will listen that Wilson Fisk was himself a gangster before he became mayor and now is trying to obfuscate important issues during an election year. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Wilson Fisk also goes out of his way to empower the NYPD to create a brand new strike force called, oh, you're gonna love this, the Thunderbolts Division. A bunch of roided up super cops outfitted with state-of-the-art military tech to help them in arresting superheroes like Captain America and Miles Morales who are just trying to save people from a fire. This sounds crazy on paper, and then you're reminded that just 5 days ago, Ron DeSantis said he wanted to create his own private army to do his bidding in Florida, so maybe it's not that crazy. Oh, but the hits just keep on coming. The Thunderbolts also go out of their way to deputize anti-heroes and supervillains to help in arresting heroes like Moon Knight. You got the RHINO, you got Lady Electro, you got Agony, which is funny considering the Kingpin was literally just shit-talking symbiotes a minute ago. And of course, John Walker, the US agent, who despite how much they clean up his act for television and related books, has just been dying to put on his brown shirt and finally has a chance. Now, Spider-Man and Daredevil are out in force trying to help out their friends wherever they're needed. It's also here that Daredevil comes clean to everyone else that this is basically his fault. Fisk is mad at him, and now everyone is forced to pay the price. It's Captain America who ends up probably winning the whole issue with the best quote, saying that it doesn't matter what the law says. Cap would happily break the law a million times if it means saving someone in need. Now, the Powers Act is so far-reaching, even heroes who enjoy a good relationship with the American government find themselves coming under fire, like Reed and Sue Richards. Their laboratory is being seized by the NYPD, as well as new Thunderbolts deputy Otto Octavius. Wow, from working with Hydra in the Secret Empire to working with the new Thunderbolts now, geez, Otto. Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman are able to get out a distress call to Ben and Johnny, who are just barely able to rescue their two children from getting arrested by the Thunderbolts, who have no problem shooting at children. I'm also reminded that Zdarsky wrote that truly excellent Marvel 2-in-1 with the Thing and Human Torch, and I hope they end up being a big part of this story. Now, while people like Matt and Miles desperately try and hang on to their secret identity, identity, we have other heroes like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, who are public figures on top of being crime fighters. They're unsure what their next move should be, not only for themselves but for their young daughter Danny, when fate kind of ends up intervening. The Shocker is on the streets attempting to apprehend Darkhawk, but even though Schultz has been empowered by the city, he's still a big a piece of crap as he's always been, and his actions are actually putting more people in danger than ever before. Luke and Jess are forced to get involved and save a group of people before eventually disarming Shocker himself. Luke says that just because he's a piece of trash with a badge doesn't make Shocker any less of a piece of trash. Luke's takedown and following impassioned speech actually end up going quite viral online. Power Man states loud and proud for anyone listening that what Kingpin is doing here is transparently corrupt. He doesn't care about New York safety, he only cares about his own revenge quest. And that a city like New York only works when people aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves, get involved, and help their fellow man. Despite these roadblocks though, Fisk is still undeterred. In fact, he takes a meeting with Butch, his estranged son and current acting kingpin of crime in New York. These two have had a strained relationship to say the least, and Butch really lets his deadbeat dad have it in this one, saying that he can claim he hates superheroes as much as he wants, but at the end of the day they have more in common than they don't. They're both loud and flamboyant and bring unnecessary attention to what should just be good old-fashioned gangstering, the sort of thing that Butch wants to bring back to New York. Kingpin also weirdly seeks to imply that he's doing all of this for Butch, and again, considering his own weird relationship with his other kid, maybe Butch would have been better served staying off the Kingpin's radar. Now, after what went down with the Shocker, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are going to have to flee their home. It's on their way out, though, they end up coming face to face with Tony Stark Iron Man. Tony says if they keep fighting the Thunderbolts in the street, it'll only be a matter of time before they all get whittled away. The only way they're going to beat Fisk is by beating him in his own arena. It is, after all, an election year, and Tony has enough money and enough charisma to spare. Yeah, that's right, everyone. Tony Stark is running for mayor of New York. Though he better hurry, though, as Kingpin is already getting started on the next phase of his plan. Using his connections, he's managed to get Zedediah Kilgrave the Purple Man out of jail. Fisk waxes poetically a little bit about how his greatest assets were never the violence he could inflict on people, but the dark secrets and information he kept on everyone, friend and enemy alike. Purple Man is a hard nut to crack, though. Even though he has this amazing power, he has no real triggers, no one who loves him, no one who cares about him, and vice versa. Fisk begins to think to himself that these amazing powers are wasted on someone like him, and with the help of Dr. Otto Octavius, the Kingpin thinks he can make the Purple Man's power his own. Which just on its own is a scary enough sort of idea, but why would Fisk want the power to influence people with pheromones? Well, because it seems that the Stromwinds are actually backing him for a presidential bid. And so that was Devil's Reign issue number 1, everybody, and I gotta say, big hats off to Chip Zdarsky and the whole team for making this story feel absolutely huge in just one issue. Also, despite all the amazing backstory that we've been getting in the pages of Daredevil these last few years, I gotta say Devil's Reign is actually new reader friendly enough that I think you could pick it up and enjoy it. You won't get all the little references or in-jokes, but I think you can actually pick it up. The long-running blood feud between Daredevil and Kingpin has always been one of the best, most interesting, most compelling, most Shakespearean things the Marvel Universe ever had going for it. I'm genuinely surprised it's taken a writer this long to say, hey, what if we make that the backbone of one of our big events? It's also a great way, too, to refocus on the Marvel street level, which I feel hasn't gotten nearly as much love recently in the era of Avengers and time travel and multiverse stories. This also feels like a story, too, that's going to have a lot of implications moving forward. What if Tony actually does become mayor? What if Fisk actually does become president? Can the superheroes ever repair their relationship with the powers that be? Do they even want to? Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 9 out of 10, and I'm actually very excited for all the different tie-in books that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks and months. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled to the Cape Joel channel to follow those as they come out. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.